This.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Damn Dolphins Podcast. This is Mike Hernandez, yours truly. I used to write for a couple websites back in the day, but I don't anymore because I just don't have the time. And now I just thought of doing a podcast and talking some football because it's just way easier for me right now. And I'm with my good friend Robbie T, who is accompanying me. And we are both 30-something-year-olds who still live at home with our parents.
Yeah, let's tell the world about that.
Yes.
Yeah, let's announce that to the world about that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mike's older than me, so he's more pathetic.
Yeah. So I got my mom. So we're at my house currently on this episode, and Rob was very. I'm very thankful to him because he came over and watched some football with me. And normally
he begged me so badly. He was like, "Please, Rob, please come over."
I need to watch football. I need to watch football with somebody. And Rob's a great person to watch football with because he is very intellectual about it, and I'd like to think that I am too. But a lot of people think I don't know anything. But yeah. So let me just paint the setting of my house right now. So I still got my Christmas tree up. And we have a big screen next to that when we were watching the Eagles and Seahawks game, which is we're still in the middle of that. It's about the third quarter right now in that game. And my mom is grilling chicken wings, buffalo style on the grill right now. And me and Robbie are sitting outside, and we got some crickets chirping and stuff. But it's a very nice, pleasant afternoon because kind of chilly weather.
It's cold. I hate the cold weather.
And we're down in Miami, so you got to enjoy this chilly weather when it comes. So today on the show, we're gonna talk some Chan Gailey because the Dolphins hired their new OC Chan Gailey on the show. I mean, not on the show, but down here they fired.
They literally hired him in this show. Yeah,
sure.
Stephen Ross came here to our show, and he announced that he hired Chan Gailey, and Chan Gailey showed up here.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what happened.
It was a brilliant Stephen Ross move. Another good one to throw in the trash can with all the others. So we're gonna talk some Chan Gailey. We're gonna talk some Titans versus Patriots. We're gonna feed off some Ryan Tannehill talk because
never escape Ryan
he just the good boy won't die. He keeps living on.
At least when the Dolphins don't stop talking about Dan Marino, it's because Dan Marino was the greatest to play the game.
Yeah. So
but we still can't stop talking about Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, because he's one of those players where the Dolphins move on from, and he just like the other ones, they find success after they move on from the Dolphins, no matter which way it comes or how it comes or what they do with the other teams. Somehow certain players just move on from this team and play better, and I don't know what it is.
Minka.
Yeah, like
you hated that draft.
No, I didn't hate it.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't hate it. I just don't understand it because we already had safeties that were signed to extensions.
Now we need fucking safeties.
Yeah, I know, because we got rid of the two that were signed to extensions. But at the time, whatever. I'm not gonna get into it.
Yeah.
What else? I wanna talk some. I think Saints Vikings after that because I'm a pretty big fan of Kirk Cousins. I don't totally believe in him because more and more of those big games that he doesn't show up in.
Mike, you never shut up about him.
I know, but I root for the guy. I think he could play.
He's an A-tier quarterback.
I think he could play. He puts up some pretty good numbers. So we're gonna talk some of that too, and the crazy ending to that game, and our opinions on that. So, all right. So to start off, Dolphins hired Chan Gailey after firing Pat O'Shea. Chad O'Shea. I keep thinking I always combine Chad O'Shea with Pat Flaherty, who they fired way earlier in the season. I think he was the O-line's coach.
There's a place called O'Shea's in Vegas, which is a really fun place. That's where a lot of people do the beer pong and stuff there.
Mm-hmm. It's
a really nice spot. But young people, hot chicks.
All right. Ooh, hot chicks.
Hell yeah.
Encantado. So, okay, so the Dolphins hired Chan Gailey as O'Shea's replacement after O'Shea had a brilliant, really good play calling throughout the season and just a brilliant offensive game plan beating the Patriots in Foxborough.
I
Oh my God.
I really do not like. I shouldn't say hate, but I kind of hate it because I think it's just once again where is the consistency with their coaching staff? That's not good. Like, why are you getting rid of a guy who's probably Flores' guy? By the way, I'm assuming he's Flores' guy. He brought him with him from New England.
No, he did.
So,
that's the thing. They coached together for like 10 or 11 years on the Patriots staff.
Yeah, and we're like, and I don't understand. Like, I don't understand these coaching fires to begin with. Like, dude, we've won 5 games. We should have probably won 7 if it wasn't for a missed field goal at an incomplete. You know, the 2-point a failed 2-point conversion. We would have had 7 wins on the year with probably the worst roster of all time.
Mm-hmm. Worst roster of all time.
Yeah.
So Chad O'Shea goes up to Foxborough with no running game, no running back, no offensive line, and gets Fitzpatrick to carry the team throughout that game, going up and down the field. Maybe they didn't punch it in the red zone so much, but they went up and down the field consistently throughout that game. And the next day they get rid of him for Chan Gailey, a 67-year-old. I think he retired. He was retired. Exactly. He's 67. He's soon to be 68. I forget exactly when his birthday is, but he's about to be 68. He was retired. He spent, I think, 14 or 15 seasons. And this is loose. This is just very loose talk. He spent 14 or 15 seasons as an OC in the NFL. Like, overall, he had like 40-something years coaching in the NFL.
I mean, he had a head coaching run with the Bills, but who didn't?
As a play caller, I think he only had like a handful of seasons where he had top 10 performing offenses. Not top 5 performing offenses. That never happened. But out of the handful of seasons that he had, he only had they were top 10 offenses. So I just don't get it, man. Like, this guy, he's old, he's retired. He hasn't been that successful as a play caller. I mean, I know
it's just
like I know throughout his history as a play caller for a lot of the years he never really had a quarterback on any of his offenses, and I get that that's not entirely his fault. But what's to get excited about with this hire, man? I just don't get it.
Where's the consistency? You don't want to be that team that every year gets a new OC because they think that OC wasn't good enough to really elevate the guy or anything like that.
And we've had that many years on the Dolphins.
Yeah, that was an issue we were going through years. Mike Sherman, Bill Lazor, freaking, I know Adam Gase was the play caller.
Dan Henning, Brian Gable. This is ridiculous, dude. This is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand it. Why? Because our running attack sucked this year? Bro, that offensive line was garbage, and all our running backs keep getting hurt or underperform. We had one good one. Traded away.
We had one good one, and we had to cut his ass because he got in trouble again. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how this doesn't look good, bro, especially since we're projected to get Tua or some quarterback. And you want his first OC to be fucking Chad Gailey? Chad Gailey?
Okay.
I'm not even. That doesn't even make any sense, and that's not good. That's actually to me, that's already a bad start. I feel like long term is gonna affect us. This could be a turning point into this coaching staff with Flores. So I think, even if he doesn't work out here in Miami, I guarantee you another team, a better roster with a better quarterback will pick up freaking Brian Flores one day. He's gonna have a lot more success. You know what the fans here are gonna say?
Maybe Brian Flores or O'Shea?
Flores.
Oh, Flores. Okay.
I think this could be the start of a domino effect. Stuff like this always revolves in a domino effect.
Don't kick the table. I get this.
Sorry.
Okay, so, yeah, man, I just don't get this hire. And then people will try to push this narrative that, Chan Gailey, he coached Fitzpatrick. I think it was back on the Bills, so he had some success with Fitzpatrick back on the Bills, and then back when Fitzpatrick was playing on the Jets, he also coached him there and had some success with him there. And what does any of that matter? Fitzpatrick ain't the future.
He's not.
He's not the future. So, like, by hiring this guy who had success with Fitzpatrick, like, is that something that's trying to tell us that the Dolphins think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be here for at least a handful of more years?
You're crazy if you think that.
But then what's the deal with this coach? What's the deal with this offensive coordinator who hasn't had much success as a play caller?
I don't know what's even the history behind this. I don't get any of this. I don't get the O'Shea firing. I just don't like this. Like everything was looking good. We won our last 2 regular season games. We won 5 games for a roster that probably should have not won a game.
Exactly.
And we're in position. We still have a young backup who could still develop, and we're most likely going to get one of these top QBs. Looks like 2. We'll find out tomorrow during this. As of this recording, tomorrow we'll find out if 2 is going to stay in Alabama or go pro. And I think he's going to go pro. He should go pro.
Yeah, and then Chan Gailey, he's going to be 68 entering this season. Because his birthday's coming up. I know that. I remember reading something about that. His birthday's pretty soon. So he's going to be 68. A 68-year-old offensive coordinator who just got pulled out of retirement on a young Dolphins team that is still building. How long is this guy going to be here for us?
How is he?
Because I'm predicting that since he was just retired and as old as he is, that he's not going to be here for that long.
Let me ask you guys. Let me ask you this: was he retired because he just didn't want to do it anymore, or did he retire because no team wants him? There's 32 jobs. There's 32 OC jobs. There's hundreds of offensive jobs, period. Running back coaches, O-line coaches, wide receiver coaches, quarterback coaches, all that shit. He could have probably gotten any of those jobs. No team hired him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a legitimate question. Did he retire because, he didn't want to do it anymore? Maybe he just felt like it was done. Maybe the game's behind him. Or maybe the game is really behind him and no one wants to hire him because he's so behind in the game.
Yeah. What I know about him over the years is that his offenses are they're usually run first. And maybe that's because throughout the years when he was, he coached on Kansas City, coached on the Bills, the Jets, at some point the Troy Aikman Cowboys back in the day. I'm trying to remember some other ones right now, but basically he was always run first, and maybe he was run first a lot of the time because he was always playing with some lesser talented quarterback.
That's so stupid. These should not be the reason to fire O'Shea because of the running game. Dude, the running game sucked because the fucking talent.
Exactly.
Wasn't there.
I just don't get it. I just don't get it, man. Flores.
I hate this mindset. I always hate this mindset that it's the coach's fault. We need to fire the coaches. This and that, bro. Watch the games. The tackles cannot block anybody. We've been having some of the worst guards in the last 10 years. Freaking everybody was hurt. Freaking, it's just ridiculous, dude. Like we have running backs of guys named Patrick Lair, Gaskin. I know we had Kenyon Drake, but
we traded him away.
We traded him away because we were never going to keep him anyway. He was probably going to leave anyway.
We got Kalen Ballage, who a lot of people regard as one of the a lot of Dolphins Nation regard as one of the worst running backs they've ever seen.
Has been a major disappointment. We had Mark Walton for an hour and he was looking good, and then he decided to be a stupid ass again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all these coaches. If anything, O'Shea, he had aggressive play calling. He was doing a lot of trickery. He had to do what he had to do.
Yeah, he was pulling some creative stuff out of his butt.
I just don't like.
I like when grown men pull things out of their butts. I just like it. It's just fun to watch. But look, it doesn't make any sense to me because for so many reasons. It doesn't make any sense to me because when Brian Flores was building his staff, he coached with Chad O'Shea for at least 10 years with the Patriots or whatever. They know each other a lot. They said, hey, I want this guy because I know this guy. I've worked with him. I know everything that he's all about. So, Chad O'Shea, please be my offensive coordinator when I come down to Miami. Please be the play caller for me. And bring your family down here. And help me take over this offense, be in charge of the offense, and help me win some games down here. And all of a sudden, after 1 year of all that happening, he's gone. I mean, with everybody knows we were working with the worst roster in the league. Can this guy at least be working with something before we decide that, hey, he's not that great as a coordinator, let's move on from him? I mean, why couldn't we give this guy some talent first? Give him a good offensive line, give him a real running back, like give this guy a chance to succeed. And I still don't understand why they fired him. Because Flores knows this too. Flores knew that Chris Greer stripped down this entire roster and wasn't giving Flores a lot to work with. They know this, so I don't understand the thing. And then you replace him with not some innovative young mind. You replace him with some old guy who was already retired. It doesn't make any sense. You wanna add anything else to the Chan Gailey talk?
I think it's just stupid. I think it's gonna be a friggin'. I just think there is a domino that could lead to a domino effect, and that's the thing I don't want. I don't want something that starts with bad that leads to like something else.
Yeah,
I'm actually curious to see like.
And I don't like it. I don't trust that when you put a new coaching staff in place and then you're already firing guys after 1 year. Like, it just shows to me that you didn't make the right moves when
apparently
you
did kept the QB coach Skoplitzky, which I don't know. Apparently they thought that O'Shea was a good like wide receiver coach, but not as an OC.
Well, another thing too is that Flores and people like during last offseason, Flores also fired Pat Flaherty, who was going to be the offensive line coach, because he wanted Dave DeGuglielmo. They said that was his guy. So Flores fires Pat Flaherty, then gets Dave DeGuglielmo on the staff, but then guess what he does at the end of the year? Now Flores fires Dave DeGuglielmo, the guy who he wanted all along. So, like, as much as the Dolphins look to be stable right now on the surface with Chris Greer and Brian Flores and Stephen Ross is still there, underneath all of that, there's instability under the surface.
Here's something I read from Sports Illustrated Albert Breer.
Project your voice, Robbie, please.
Sorry. Okay, here's something I'm reading here. In a column Monday, Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer reported that O'Shea's history with Flores and New England actually played a role in his departure. I am told that part of the decision to fire O'Shea was Brian Flores' desire to move away from his Patriots' roots on that side of the ball.
So he wants to move away from his Patriots' roots because, yeah, I read this too. He doesn't want to be known as the Patriots of the South. I wouldn't mind being known as the Patriots of the South. Patriots win.
They don't want a complex scheme. I think that's the thing.
They don't want a complex scheme
because New England does have a really complex scheme.
That's worked so poorly for them over the last 20 years.
For a young roster, yeah, it hasn't worked.
Yeah, but why do
you think a lot of wide receivers they drafted never worked out?
Look, I understand that, but can we not challenge these young players? I mean, since when did challenging and pushing players be such a crime?
Fair enough.
Like, I mean, you want these guys to be best. You want to build a good team, but in order to do that, like, the players need to learn what they're doing. And like, I get it, it's highly complex, but hey, man, that worked for them for so many years.
I mean, part of the reason it worked for them because they had Tom Brady.
But we are working with veteran receivers. Devontae Parker's been in the league for a handful of years. Who else do we have? Alan Hearns. He's bounced around. You know, he can pick up. He could pick up systems. Who else? Jakeem Grant. Yeah, he's still kind of like learning, and he seems to be getting it now. But you know, he is still kind of groomed as being a receiver. I still don't fully trust him. Preston Williams. He is young too. But you know he grasped it pretty quick. He came into training camp and
kicked ass.
He kicked ass and got on the first string. I mean, like, I get it. Maybe you don't want to run something complex, but I mean, hey, that complexity worked for New England and helped them win Super Bowls and playoff games and championships.
The Seattle Seahawks is advanced.
Good for Russell Wilson.
Going to play against the Packers.
The Packers. All right, so moving on. Titans-Patriots. Titans go up to Foxborough at home, just like the Dolphins did, and played a really tight game with the Patriots. It looked like it was a very defensive game, and they come out with a win on top thanks to a Brady pick six in the final seconds of the game.
I'm completely shocked. I'll never get over the fact that Tom Brady's last 2 games as a New England Patriot were both home losses to the Miami Dolphins, though, one of the worst rosters ever, Miami Dolphins, and the Tennessee Titans, quarterbacked under center by the former Miami Dolphin, Ryan Tannehill, who Miami gave up on because they just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. Because he showed his limitations. He couldn't elevate anybody. But it's not to say that I don't think you can win games with Tannehill. But you can win games with Tannehill when you have a good roster around him. He needs to be part of a perfect situation in order for him to be efficient for you and get the most out of you.
Like that.
I don't like that either. That's not what I'm looking for in a franchise QB.
I'm sorry.
Now, he did prove that, though, because he's got a solid roster around him. He's got a solid O-line. He's got an elite rushing attack. And he's got a pretty good defense on the other side, too. And we see that he can make some noise when he has those things around him. But that's the thing. He's not going to always have that around him.
Look, people need to understand this, guys. Everybody needs to understand this. Yes, what wins Super Bowls is like a balanced roster. You should have a balanced roster to begin with. Well, that's never going to be the case. No roster is balanced. Every roster has weaknesses. Injuries and the salary cap prevent stuff like that. I think it's impossible to be great both sides on every position. I think you're always going to have a team that probably has a crappy secondary or a mediocre running game or a bad right tackle.
Or like the Chargers, just a bad kicker every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes my dog.
Bad kicking, bad specialties, like that all matter. Like, it's going to happen.
And there we go. We got to move.
Pause it.
Sorry about that. My dog went out of the backyard and started barking against the fence with some other big dog, so I had to put the podcast on pause for a second.
Should probably edit that.
Where were we in this? We're talking about Tannehill, or we're talking about the game?
We're talking about in general about quarterbacks and stuff, where you can't rely on a quarterback that needs everything around to be perfect, because that doesn't work. You have to have someone else, because sooner or later you're going to be paying that quarterback $35 million. So you have to figure out a way to scavenge the rest of your salary cap with the other players. And there's always going to be casualties. A good defensive tackle is going to go to the free market. That's how it works, man. And not all these rosters are perfect. New England's roster wasn't good, for God's sake. They had like one of the crappiest tight ends situations in the league.
It was awful.
Seattle doesn't have good offensive lines. Green Bay, I think, didn't have... What was the Green Bay weakness?
For a number of years, they didn't really have a running attack.
Yeah, well, Aaron Jones now fixed it.
Yeah, and their defense was pretty bad, too.
Their defense is better, but not elite.
Yeah, exactly. But, like when I'm looking for a franchise QB, and one of the tests you want to see is if they can elevate a poor supporting cast. And I'm going to compare Ryan Tannehill to other members of his draft class, like Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson. Andrew Luck had one of the worst offensive lines throughout his career. Yep. It's part of the reason why he retired, because he got so banged up behind it.
Oh, yeah.
He never had a real running back or a rushing attack. He carried that roster.
I mean, what was his best running back? Trent Richardson?
Maybe Ahmad Bradshaw. Early in his career.
Remember, everybody thought that Trent Richardson trade was like one of the greatest trades ever?
Yeah.
And then like an hour into it, you realized, oh, no, wait, Trent Richardson's really bad.
Exactly.
He also didn't have that good of he never really had a good defense either.
Yeah, exactly. But Andrew Luck always put like 30 or 35 points on the board.
And he carried a really bad roster to the AFC Championship.
And
I feel like people forgot that was not a good team.
It was all right.
No,
I think it was.
It wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't block, and their defense wasn't that great. That was Andrew Luck just scoring, and that was willpower with Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I thought their defense was okay that year.
No.
I mean, it wasn't great. I thought it was like at least average, but whatever. Topic for another day. But, Andrew Luck always did his job as a quarterback. Yeah, they didn't win a lot of games because, it does take a team to win the games. But Andrew Luck was always the top performing quarterback in the league every single year.
Yep.
He would always carry the offense game to game, move the chains, put the ball in the end zone, score points.
Yep.
I mean, the guy put, I don't know what his average is, but I'll loosely say the guy put, at least 25 points on the board. I've seen him put 30 points on the board sometimes.
I've seen him put 30 during the playoffs, bro.
Exactly.
That guy put a lot of numbers during the playoffs.
Okay, another guy, Russell Wilson. Who the hell has he had to throw to his entire career? Maybe Doug Baldwin, and even Doug Baldwin kind of came out of nowhere. All those other receivers are wide receiver 3s and 4s.
Yeah, he never had a Des Bryant or a freaking. He never had a Des Bryant or a freaking Antonio Brown or a freaking not even a Jordy Nelson, bro. He had a bunch of guys, gadget guys, small guys that were in the fourth string, were second strings in his team, and it's just Russell Wilson is literally one of the greatest quarterbacks I ever saw in my life, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a top 10 quarterback of all time. By the end of his career, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And then
I think he's proven he wins. He's never had a losing season. Before last year, so let me point this out. He's only missed the playoffs once, and they had a winning record. Only one playoff run, he did not win a playoff game. Every playoff run he's had, he's at least won a playoff game. He could very well beat Green Bay next week and make the NFC Championship game. And the world still doesn't respect him. Why? Because he's a 5'7" QB. Because everybody loves Drew Brees. He's short as hell too. Michael Vick was a midget, and he was everybody still loves Michael Vick to this day as a player. Is it because he plays in a small market, geographically, isolated Seattle? I mean, some people think the Packers QB job is one of the greatest QB jobs out there. Drew Brees has been the Saints QB. The Saints has never been good ever until he showed up. Mm-hmm. I don't understand. I really don't understand. Why is it that Russell Wilson has never been beloved? I feel if he was a Cowboy or a Giant, we'd be thinking him differently, would we?
Yeah, we would.
I really believe that.
And again, after Marshawn Lynch and the Legion of Boom thing, Marshawn Lynch departs, their offensive line just becomes a mess. They have no real running back for a number of years until Chris Carson kind of came along. Yep. But even Chris Carson gets banged up too. And the guy and
Rashad Penny is finally playing good.
Yeah.
And he was a first rounder.
And
people thought he was looking like a bust, and now he's starting to play good. And then he tore his ACL.
Yeah, and I think before this year, maybe before last year, I mean there was 2 or 3 years where Russell Wilson was just scrambling around for his life back there and still pulling magic out of his butt.
This year alone, he carried a roster who I think
I don't even know who's on the roster.
Jadeveon Clowney.
I know, but
I don't even like.
Besides DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who also was nothing until this year, until Doug Baldwin
DK
retired.
Metcalf dropped in the draft. So
yeah, and then he's throwing to what?
His tight ends.
Oh my God! Here we go again.
And
the dogs started barking again. So
and his tight ends he had Jimmy Graham, but I'm starting to think Jimmy Graham is just a product of the Saints offense.
Mm-hmm.
And his tight ends is a guy named Hawkinson Hollister and Will Dissly.
Yeah.
What the hell is a Will Dissly?
No, we don't know. I have no aside.
He was a blocking tight end in USC apparently.
Yeah, I don't know who all these other no name guys are that he's throwing to, and Pete Carroll finally this year opens it up for Russell Wilson to kind of take command of that offense. And because for many years in the past, Pete Carroll would just want to emphasize the run and for a good 2 or 3 years there was no running game to be had, but he would force it and then throw it anyway. So Ryan Tannehill, oh my God, and getting back to the Titans and Patriots game. like that game, like Derrick Henry, and I always thought the Titans were the better team this year. Like I'll give them that. You know, they have an elite. No, they were a better team than the Patriots. They were this year. They were more consistent. They had an elite rushing attack.
The Patriots were 12-4.
Ryan Tannehill was throwing darts through the air.
The Patriots were 12-4 in the first 8 games. They were killing him.
Yeah, and they had the same offensive issues all the time. They couldn't really run the ball.
Oh my God! People kept saying, "Dude, I saw a lot of games they were fucking running the ball and Tom Brady was throwing in the air." Get out of here!
It was an inconsistent offense. Week to week, man, it was just like sputtering or something.
So
like it wasn't truly efficient.
So at week 2, when freaking this guy was throwing dimes to Antonio Brown,
exactly,
that was inconsistent.
Yeah, and then Antonio Brown left, and that was early on week 2. Yeah, and then they were trying to find their way and try to get something through their wide receiver core. So anyway, I thought the Titans were the better team. I picked them to win. Even though I knew it was going to be hard because no one schemes better than Belichick up there. And no one's a better game-to-game schemer than him. So,
are you guys done with the podcast?
No. Mom, please. Leave me alone. I'm trying to podcast with my friends.
We are editing that out.
No, we're not. So with all the interruptions, I'm losing my place here. But, so I picked them to win. I thought they were a better team. I knew it was going to be hard up there. It's in Foxborough. Patriots don't ever lose at home up there, even during the playoffs. But I thought with all the Titans' strengths, it could be a close game with the Patriots and they could pull it out. And I'm very happy with the result because I have family in Tennessee. I got my aunt Bill and my uncle Bill and my aunt Karen and their 2 lovely daughters, Andrew and David. So I'm very happy for them because they're Titans fans. Andrew also likes the Patriots too. But the Patriots during that game they just couldn't stop the run. Derrick Henry ran all over them. He had like 100
Derrick
yards.
Henry, I am so surprised how good he is in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he was going to be a bad back. I just thought that if you guys remember, Derrick Henry had a lot of touches throughout his career at Alabama. Like Nick Saban ran him to the ground practically.
Yeah. That's what the Titans are doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Derrick Henry in the first half, he goes over 100 yards in the first half. I mean, that always helps Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill needs the run game to be successful. I've been telling people this since day one, and that's why he's playing so good this year because he has an elite rushing attack, and he plays play action off of that, and he fucking bombs the ball down the field because of it. And so they had a pretty tight game. They scored 2 touchdowns in the first half. And there you go, leading the Patriots. And the entire second half was just defensive heavy. And Belichick starts saying, hey, we need to stop Derrick Henry or slow him down or something because if we don't stop him, there's no chance we can win this game. And that's exactly what they started to do. And guess what? Guess what happens when Ryan Tannehill doesn't have a running game? He doesn't do anything. He didn't do anything in the second half. The Titans' offense had 0 points in the second half. Their defense had a pick 6 at the end of the game to win them that game. And I keep telling people that Ryan Tannehill is once he doesn't have a run game, he can't do anything for you. And that's a perfect example. For one half, he's got a running back rushing for 100 yards. The second half of it, he has little to no running game. All of a sudden, he becomes a ghost. The Titans offense aren't going up and down the field. Not even a field goal. He couldn't even get into field goal range. Ryan Tannehill gave you a big fat goose egg. And people want to think that he's elite and turn the corner and all that stuff, but he's the same guy to me. And that game just proved it, dude. That was just a small sample size of what he does without a run game because we saw it for 7 years down here when he had no running game. But the years when he did with Jay Ajayi, back in 2016, when they had a top 10 rushing attack, Ryan Tannehill helped you win 10 games. Even back in Lamar Miller days when Dan Campbell was...
Last time I checked, Ryan Tannehill won 7 games and freaking 7 or 8 or whatever. And this guy, Matt Moore, lead the team and made it to the playoffs. So I don't even count Ryan Tannehill that season, bro. That was Matt Moore getting it done.
Ah, come on. Ryan Tannehill did his part. Let's not discredit him. And everybody's going to call us a hater and all that stuff.
Moore, just saying.
Matt Moore did come on the field and whoop the Jets' butt that season. I remember that. That was fun to watch. He actually threw downfield to Devontae Parker. So that's just a small sample size. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's turned the corner or anything. He's still like just a very physically talented game manager, facilitator to me, and that's what he is. And I don't want people to be fooled thinking that the Dolphins should have kept him or what have you or whatever. I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill can't win you games. He proved that he could this year if he has a perfect setting around him. But a real quarterback needs to lift the team through adversity when all the chips are down, and Ryan Tannehill isn't going to be the guy to do that for you. Now, if the Titans keep up their game plan and they keep playing their strengths and things are still working for them and that engine keeps chugging along, yeah, maybe they could go all the way with that formula. But there's going to come – this is the playoffs now. And at some point, someone's going to take away that run game, and Ryan Tannehill is going to have to carry that team, and I don't think he's going to get it done.
He's got to play against Baltimore, bro, who are going to run the ball down their Tennessee's throats. Lamar Jackson is going to, run the ball down these throats.
Yeah. They're kind of similar, both teams. Good rushing attacks, play action off the run game, good defenses. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Ravens are way more better at it, I think. Especially their defense.
No, the Ravens are a better team in the end, though.
But they're too similar, like physical, ball control, pound the rock kind of team.
Yeah, but Baltimore's just better, and I trust their coaching staff.
Oh no, yeah. I'm not gonna disagree.
I think with New England out now, and Kansas City and both Mahomes and Andy Reid's known for choking big games. I think I am going to lean towards Baltimore winning the AFC at this point. I think they are the most complete team. I think they are uniquely talented. I think they've been bizarrely healthy. I feel like it's just one of those years where you see a team playing so great, and it's just obvious, okay, this team can go all the way. I feel like that's not with Baltimore. I was very shocked how great they've been all year, and give props to Lamar Jackson, and he really stepped up his game. I'm still not in love with him. I think the media likes him a little more than I think he deserves. But he's going to be the MVP of the league. He well deserved. The team is 14-2, number 1 seed throughout the playoffs. And I think the stands here with Tennessee. I just don't think Tennessee. I just don't trust Tennessee enough to outcoach Baltimore at Baltimore. And I think, you did saw a little exposure in that game where I think if you could shut down Derrick Henry, which I think they will, I think they are going to figure out a way to stop Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm. And Ryan Tannehill does not play well against the Ravens.
That is true, too. That's
true. Another element that I don't think anybody's really talking about. Yeah. Ryan Tannehill gets his butt creamed by the Ravens. And I know it's a better team than the Dolphins ever had, but he does not do much for the year.
History has not been good with him when it comes
I think there was one time the Dolphins beat the Ravens and Tannehill threw for 86 yards.
Yeah, that game it was Matt Schaub as the QB.
Yeah.
Flacco was hurt.
It was Matt Schaub as the QB, and Tannehill still had a rough time. And the Ravens had a lot of injuries that game. I remember. I forgot their key injuries.
They were not even a good team that year. I think they were a 7-9 or 6. Actually, yeah, no, I think that was that year where they kept losing close games early, and then Joe Flacco got hurt, and they were not a good team. They were playing hard and stuff, but they just weren't a good team. And that year, we played against them, and Tannehill had 87 yards in that game. And it's just it's one of those games where we won, but it was so awful to look at. Where no one looked good in that game.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so moving on. Vikings Saints. Vikings go into New Orleans, and my boy Kirk Cousins comes out with a win, with a clutch throw in overtime to Adam Thielen. Puts him down by the goal line, and then Kirk Cousins capitalizes on that with looked like a fade, little touch pass to Kyle Rudolph in the end zone. And there was a little bit of a push off by Rudolph, and I thought that should have gone under review, given that it is the Saints. And the whole PI thing started because it happened with the Saints.
They didn't really review it, though. They kind of were just, waved it off and shit.
No, they didn't. Yeah, I think...
Which doesn't make sense because you're supposed to review, every play anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you could make the argument. You could review that part.
Yeah. I thought it was a push off too. If it went under review, I wouldn't be surprised if they said that Kyle Rudolph pushed off and there was offensive pass interference. I would have been totally on board with him, and to not do the Saints that service after they got screwed last year and kind of on a fluky play even the year before by the Vikings, to not do them the courtesy in that spot, I think it's almost criminal, but
I bet you that was the ref's way of saying fuck you anyway.
Yeah.
I kind of hate that rule anyway. I think that rule that's literally one of the worst things about that's probably the worst thing about the NFL this year actually. I think the whole reviewing pass interference has been a disaster flat out. I think the first 9-10 weeks of the season, almost all of them, I think it was one out of 30 or something got turned over.
Yeah, but they kind of it just seemed to be like they had their own agenda to do it too, because they were telling the coaches no, we're the refs, or we're the NFL or whatever, we're not gonna really overturn these play calls, even when it was so obvious that some of them should have got overturned, and they would go on review.
It was stupid because none of them were getting overturned. Mm-hmm. To a point, and then eventually started overturning some of them because I think there was so much back. Because the problem with the rule was nothing was fucking being overturned. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden now you're starting to overturn. So that happened with us not so long ago.
I remember. I think there was also another one.
I think it was the Jets actually.
Yeah, Devontae Parker had a big catch or something. Yeah. And oh my god,
it was bad, dude. It's been a terrible thing. I think this is a stupid rule. I don't think it's going to continue on.
It's not. The rule isn't stupid. I like the rule. It's just they're not officiating it fairly. That's the whole problem. They're not. The rule is to make the game better and make it more just and fair, and they're not abiding by that for whatever reason. I don't know why a ref that shouldn't have any sort of agenda against the coaching staff. They're just supposed to officiate the game and call it as fairly as possible. Goes under the booth, reviews the play, and then says,
no, there's not enough conclusive evidence.
Yeah.
Or, no, it looks like this guy actually did the PI.
When it's so obvious. We're all here in our houses sitting watching the game. And we know it's obvious. We're seeing the same thing the refs
That was a push-off, and that should have at least been reviewed. They didn't even review it, which doesn't make sense because that was a touchdown.
Yeah,
that's a scoring play.
Mm-hmm,
You're supposed to review
mm-hmm,
those.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's going to be another controversy. They're going to, and again,
because it's the Saints.
And I think that's a lot to do with it. I do think a lot of the refs got fed up with the whole Saints thing with their drama and their bullshit all year. The whole the city was going to sue the NFL. It got really ridiculous after a while.
Yeah,
I get it. Bad, dude. The whole league, the history of every sport, there's going to be bad calls, bro. That's just part of the game, dude.
Yeah.
In these crucial moments and these big time moments, you don't think a ref's emotions are going to get the best of them sometimes about their judgment? And there were a lot that last year. By the way, people seem to forget too. New Orleans still got up ahead. New Orleans fucked up too in that game. They could have still won that game, no problem. Yeah. They didn't.
Yeah, Drew Brees had a crucial fumble.
That fumble was not the reason they lost. Dude, they lost because the Los Angeles outplayed them completely, just like the Vikings outplayed them.
Oh, we're talking about.
Yeah, no, we're talking about. I'm saying in general, that game from last year, the Rams outplayed them the whole game.
Yeah,
it was blatantly obvious. Drew Brees did not play that great in that game.
No, he didn't. He was missing some throws.
There was some bad play calling by Sean Payton, and this year was one of those games where props to Mike Zimmer. Zimmer, I think, doesn't get as much love. I feel like I always hear he's not on the hot seat or something, and it's just dude, that guy's good. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah, dude, he went a lot of shaky seasons.
But a lot of it's just because, dude, what's his quarterback situation?
No, yeah, I know. But he went a lot of shaky seasons with an uncertain quarterback position, some injuries. But he still would find a way to figure it out and win the game. Mm-hmm. But I do see some really questionable play calls by the Vikings. They ran like an outside toss on the goal line towards the end of the game in overtime, and I was like, "What the heck are you doing, man? You're on the goal line, just punch it in." And then, but on the Saints side, they got off to a really slow start, and everybody was like, "What the heck are you doing, man? You're one of the hottest teams in the NFC right now, aside from maybe the 49ers." And I thought the Saints could have took it to the Super Bowl, but they got off to a bad start, and then they were about to get in it after I think that guy Hill. He went off for like a big play, and then the immediately following that play, Drew Brees gets like a strip sack fumble, and then the Vikings recover it, and it was so devastating because time was running out in that game, and they only had like a handful of minutes left, and then they had some chances towards the end, but they just couldn't get it done, man. It was too late, and with the slow start like that, like you can't leave it up. You just got to get off to a good start. You're a better team than the Vikings.
You are.
The Vikings are such a Jekyll and Hyde shaky team. They're like the Chargers on steroids. that's why I think that.
I think they are better than the Chargers in terms of. I think their roster more or less is probably.
Oh no, the roster's fantastic, but that's why I was comparing them with the Chargers because the Chargers have a lot of good names on their roster, and then they find a way to screw it up or shoot themselves on the foot.
Yeah,
it's
they definitely had a lot of issues. Like I think in the end, if Chargers or the Vikings, I think their roster is mostly similar. I'll give quarterback edge to the Chargers because I just respect Phillip Rivers too much. But coaching wise, freaking Mike Zimmer is a better head coach. Mm-hmm. He's definitely a top 5 head coach at this point. Yeah. And the reason I'm saying he's a top 5 head coach because if you look at their the spread, Vegas spreads and stuff, which there's a lot of metric to that, there's a lot of truth to that. The guy covers the spread like 65% of the time. Stuff all his games.
That's pretty good.
He wins, bro. The guy wins. We just don't think about it that much because, he is a little bit of old school conservative kind of coaching style. And Minnesota hasn't really won that much. Like we want them to. And, they're not exactly like a super flashy team. And, they have Kirk Cousins, right? I mean, remember, they had Chase Keenum and Kirk Cousins, quarterbacks who are like football people, fans, and media don't think of highly of.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Kirk Cousins is still my boy, and I'm very happy for him.
You know who I'm happy for?
What?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah.
What how come we're not talking about that game?
I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch that one.
Buffalo was up by like 13 or 16 or something like that in the first 3 quarters, and then Deshaun Watson just takes it over, bro. You talk about
that's a real quarterback right there. He's so good.
I think if Jerry Jones could sell his soul to switch quarterbacks between Prescott and Deshaun Watson, he will sell like his soul, his oil, his everything for that to happen.
Dude,
bro.
Deshaun Watson
that guy is. I love Deshaun Watson. I loved him coming out. I never understood why he wasn't highly touted. Like, what I never understood is like people were questioning Deshaun Watson. Remember, he was like the 3rd QB picked in that draft.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky was the 2nd overall pick in that draft. Just remember that Mitch Trubisky was considered the number 1 QB prospect coming out.
Yeah, it was teetering between Trubisky and like Mayfield or
no, Mayfield wasn't in that.
No, not Mayfield. It was
Mahomes.
Wait, no, who was the first QB in that draft?
Trubisky, and then it was Pat Mahomes, and then it was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, that's right.
But like Trubisky had like a 1-year start in North Carolina, didn't really win that much. Pat Mahomes didn't really win that much in freaking Texas A&M. But Deshaun Watson was a national championship winner. He went to 2 national championship games, lost one in the final play, won one in the final play, and was like a Heisman finalist like for so many years. But people were still not in love with him. But like, okay, when your head coach is telling people, "Hey, he's Michael Jordan of football," maybe you should listen. Mm-hmm. And now you might say, "Oh, that's just his boy and all that." That's actually not. That's a lot of head coaches will straight out tell teams be cautious drafting these QBs, bro. I think the best example was what's his name, Jimbo Fisher and EJ Manuel back in FSU. Apparently, Jimbo Fisher was telling teams, "Do not draft EJ Manuel." What happens? Buffalo drafts EJ Manuel. Mm-hmm. What happens now? EJ Manuel is trying to do like talk jobs somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But leave it to the Bears to who never really had a quarterback before to draft the shaky, uncertain quarterback prospect. And look at Trubisky now. Like he did come on later in the season. Like he started playing better towards the end of the season, but
they're
he's
establishing a running attack with him.
Yeah, well, they're trying to. Even the rushing attack's not even that good.
Yeah, but he got better when they started making him run the ball more. Yeah, but as a passer, he's not a good passer.
No, he's super inaccurate. That showed the beginning of the first game of the year. I think it was he was so off the mark.
Trubisky is just not he's really not that great, and I think I think the Bears are too afraid to admit they fucking drafted a bust. While Pat Mahomes looks like freaking Dan Marino on steroids, and Deshaun Watson is just a magician of a quarterback, bro. And that Texas Bills game just shows how star power and star quarterbacks do matter, bro. Freaking J.J. Watt had a key sack. DeAndre Hopkins is a fucking stud receiver. Deshaun Watson is just the man, dude. Like I loved him. Like that's a dude who literally is changing a franchise around Houston, bro. Like who ever gave a fuck about Houston before?
Not really. They've always been, 8-8, making the playoffs.
And I do think I do think a lot of people are not like in love with Deshaun Watson still.
I don't see why not. That guy just makes plays.
I think part of it, is just because I do think he plays for the Houston Texans. Again, if you're a Dallas Cowboy, your perception is so much more different.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a New York Giant, perception is so much different. But you're a Houston Texan. Who cares about the Texans? They're a team that came out of 20 years ago.
They got something in Deshaun Watson, and if they could just, add some more pieces around him, then I think they'd finally have a good enough borderline complete team. Everybody's gonna have, like you said earlier, everybody's gonna have weaknesses. But I just think they need a couple more key parts, and then they'll be some real contenders. But this year they're too shaky.
Yeah. By the way, Deshaun Watson, he's gonna be one of those guys that's gonna break the market.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, dude. Him and Mahomes are gonna break the QB market. Nasty.
All right. I don't know. Anything else? Any other topics to talk about?
None I can think of at the moment, and I'm getting cold as fuck. So how about we just stop for now?
All right. Yeah. All right. So that concludes our new episode of the Damn Dolphins podcast, and I'm so sorry for all the interruptions. We're sitting outside. There's a plane flying overhead. My dog just starts running to the fence and starts barking with another dog. But I hope you guys enjoyed it and find it enlightening. So we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.